Hello, I'm Rick Stivers. I'd like to welcome you to YoungMartin'sReels. Today's project is going to be this Penn Battle. Now, this is one of the original battles, and this one's got some issues. Let me zoom out just a little bit. Okay, this one's got some issues. First off, it's missing a handle, and I'm going to have to see about ordering one of those. It also is, when you swing the bale around, look, it doesn't want to come back down every time. Sometimes it'll just stop right there. And so we're going to have to take that apart and clean that up. And it kind of a little bit gritty feeling. So I don't know what all this thing's been through, but it showed up today. My daughter brought it in from work and asked me see what I could do. And we'll see if I can't get this one up and going. So let's go ahead. What I'm going to do is we're going to take it apart and inspect everything so I know what parts to order. I know I got to order a handle. I'm suspecting that I may need to order a new main gear, and if I order a new main gear, I'm probably going to order a new pinion gear. But I can see there's a chip down inside here. I don't know if you can see it. Let me zoom in. There's a chip out of the threads in this, or it appears there is, or maybe not. Maybe it's just dirt. Okay, we're going to clean that. Okay, we're going to have to clean that out good and take a look at those threads, but they really kind of look like they're damaged. And I think that may be why there isn't a handle with this. So if those threads really are damaged in there, I'm thinking it needs a new main gear. If it needs a new main gear, it needs a new pinion gear. So I think that's what we're going to end up doing, is ordering those parts for this. The guy, I checked with my daughter, and the guy said, yes, go ahead and spend the money that it needs to fix it. He wanted the reel back up and running again. So let's take a look. We're going to take this butt cap off, butt plate, bump cap, whatever you want to call it. And yeah, there's a lot of dirt and grit in this thing. So we're going to take that off. Now we will take, let's see, is this, yeah, it separates right here. So we'll be able to open this up. Okay, now, you may not notice it, but these have a little plastic washer that fit under them that helps seal them. There's one of them so far is missing. The other one is there so far. This one is not there. And I might very well go ahead and order those. So we've got a replacement set of them. And then the key, yeah, that one's missing. Nope, that one had the washer. And then this one over here is pretty corroded looking. And let's see if we can get it out. It's a smaller screw and it's a flathead. So let's go ahead and take it out. All right. Now with those out, let's go ahead and see if we can take this side plate off. There we go. All right. Oh. Okay. Well, it looks like somebody put white lithium grease in here. That's what it appears to have in it. It may not be. It may be some cowls, but it doesn't appear to be cowls. Cowls have got kind of a brown tint to it. But this bearing here is pretty dirty, but it seems okay aside from that. All right, let's go ahead. We're going to remove this screw now from the crosswind block so that we can remove the axle shaft right here, and then I'm going to put that screw right back into the axle shaft to keep it together. Okay. With that out, we should be able to remove the main gear right straight up and out. And oh, look at here. Okay, we're going to clean this up good so that you can see it better. But this one definitely needs new teeth, or new main gear. If you'll check out, these teeth right here are sheared off. You may not be able to see it when it's turned straight on like this, but when you turn it sideways like this, see those teeth right there? All right, so it absolutely is going to need a new main gear, which means it's going to need a new pinion gear. Let's go ahead and take out the crosswind block. That seems to be in good shape. Let's take out the crosswind gear. It's got chipped teeth on it too, okay? So we're gonna have to get a whole new gear set for this. Okay. See what else this may need. Okay. Let's go ahead and remove the nut. Well, first off, we need to remove the locking screw that holds the nut on. Now, let's remove the nut. Well, that was the right one. Okay. Okay, we're going to remove the nut. Locking plate. Okay. And we're going to remove the rotor. And again, this rotor needs some work too. But I really believe the rotor is just dirty. I think that's really all that's wrong with it. It could be bent, but I think it's just dirty. Okay. This is a very gritty reel down inside. Can you hear that? That sand gritting down inside that screw. This reel has been through a rough time. All right, let's take a look. There we go. It's the main gear, pinion gear out. And that's going to need some cleanup on that bearing, but it seems to be okay. Here's our anti-reverse. And it seems to be okay. Sleeve. And the inner bearing, which is dirty but in good shape. And then this gear. Yeah, it's got chips out of it. Okay. So, work assessment. What do we need? We're going to need a new pinion gear, new main gear, new crosswind gear, and a new handle. Those are the parts that are going to need to be ordered for this. This seems to be in good shape. Let's take a look at the drag washers in this. Okay. Well, that drag washer looks pretty good. This one looks like it's seen a little use. But overall, it looks pretty good. Okay. All right. So, parts needed. Pinion gear, main gear, crosswind gear, and a handle. With those parts, this reel should be back up and running again well. And I am going to clean these bearings to make sure that they are everything I want them to be. I'd rather not buy new bearings for it if I can help it. Sealed bearing, here's our shim. Okay. Yeah, a lot of dirt and grit on there, but overall I think that's okay. The one that goes in the side case there is good. Let's pop out the bearing on the other side. In order to do that, we're going to take this cap off and push this bearing out that side. There we go. All right, and it is a different size bearing, it appears, from the other one. Oh, we haven't got it off yet, so we don't know for certain, but it appears that it is. Okay, there's a shim on this side over here. 2 shims. Okay, that side of the gear. And keep those on there, make it easier to help identify where it goes later. All right. So I'll get these parts on order, and when we get it all coming back, get all the parts back, we'll be ready. All this will be cleaned up, and we'll start putting it back together. Well, it's been about a week and a half, almost 2 weeks since this video started, and the parts have arrived from mysticparts.com, and we're going to see about putting this thing back together. So here's what we have. We have a new pinion gear. That's going to replace this guy here, which is got some pretty bad chips and dents in it. So there's the new part for that. Okay. We have a new crosswind block, our gear. There's a new one for that, because this one's got a chipped tooth in it right here. And so that one goes out the door. The crosswind block I decided to replace because it's heavily corroded, which means structurally it could be about gone. So the extra, I think it's $2 to get a new one, took care of that. So now we've got a brand new crosswind block to go in it. So we don't have to structurally worry about whether or not that's going to hold up. Then we have our main gear to replace this one, which has got this chipped tooth over here. So now we've got a new main gear for it. And we have these little plastic seals, and I don't know if you can see them. They're very hard to see. I've got 3 of them. They're going to go in the final screws on the washer. I'm going to put it all back together, and before I'm going to tighten it all down, and then I'm going to go through and replace the, put these on the screws one at a time after I make sure everything's together and running, so you don't wear them out by screwing them in and taking them out. Okay? And last but not least, the reel has a new handle. Okay? Which should screw directly into here, like so. There we go. There's the handle and where it screws in. All right, so let's see about putting all this back together again. We're going to start out by putting the pinion gear in. It's going to have this bearing that goes on it. This is the rear one. Okay, let's oil it good. You know what? I want to try to quiet this. Normally I oil bearings, but these are not new bearings. They've been around a bit, and this thing's getting used around salt water, so I want to kind of pack this bearing to try to see if I can seal it up a little bit without going with a sealed bearing, and keep the grease out. They do use this in salt water, which is how the other one got so eat up. So we're going to seal that bearing like that. And it's going to slow it down a little bit But long term, I think it's going to improve or enhance the performance of it. How's that? There we go. One thing that's on this main pinion, let's see. Yep, we need to take and retrieve this Teflon piece in the end of it. There we go, we'll push it out. And that's going to go into the end of the pinion. Okay, with that done, we're going to put the anti-reverse back in. As you guys know, I have started adding, and not a lot, but a little bit of grease to anti-reverse bearings, just because I think it helps preserve them better. And as long as it's not slipping, it seems to do okay. Okay, so on goes this sleeve, and it will go one way it goes and the other way it will not go. So let's see which way it goes on. Da, 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 da. There we go. And then the anti-reverse bearing goes on like so. Remember, the plastic part goes down towards the gear. All right. Next is going to go the sealed bearing, and there's a little bit of corrosion on the bearing housing, this little holder for this, and it won't hurt it because that doesn't turn or anything, but I do want to grease this up a little bit just to protect it from that kind of corrosion. Okay, put some grease on it. Now the bearing itself is sealed, so there's not anything we can do for that. So we'll slide that back in, set that back on the stack like so. And the last piece to go on there is going to be this little shim washer. All of this then fits inside the housing like so. And then we got to line this up. There's only one way it goes on correctly, like so. All right, now we got this sealed bearing down in here, and I know this probably isn't going to get inside it, but I'm going to add just a little bit of oil to it and push it down in there, make sure it goes all the way down. Next part to go in is going to be our oscillation gear, or crosswind block gear. We're going to put some grease on the inside of it. We're going to put some on the back side of it. And then we're going to put some along the teeth. Next to go on is going to be this crosswind block. And I don't think that's enough grease for it. Let's add some more. There we go. Now you don't need to put any on all the rest of the block, only on the bottom side where it's going to fit onto that post. All right, like that. And then the final piece that's going to go in here is going to be the main gear. With that in place now, we can go ahead and slide the main gear back in. Now, don't try to rotate it because it'll bring the crosswind block or crosswind gear up and will keep you from being able to put the screw in. All right, with the main gear in, crosswind block and crosswind gear installed, we're going to keep them down here. We don't want to rotate any of this because this doesn't have an anti-reverse override. So we're going to leave that where it's at. And let's go ahead now and put the rotor on. There we go. Put the nut on and tighten it down. Now your first thought is going to want to be to give this a spin, but we don't want to do that yet until we get the axle shaft in. And I just bumped it a little bit and managed to rotate it some that I didn't want it to go. Okay, now let's say you did accidentally spin this a little round too far and it moved that gear up where you didn't want it. Okay, what you can do is you can try to rotate it around until it comes all the way back around, or you can do the easy thing, which is just go ahead and take the main gear back out. Reset your oscillation gear back to where you want it. There we go, like so. And then reset your main gear back in. Like so. With that done, we're ready to install the axle shaft, which I've already lubricated it. I oiled it. Slide it in until that hole lines up right there. We'll zoom in on that so you can see it a little better. Put that screw in. Now you've got the axle installed, you got the rotor installed. At this point, you can give it a spin. All right, that all looks pretty good. Let's go ahead and ounce it. Remember, we got the shims installed. Let's install the bearing. Add a little bit of oil. Hopefully some of that oil can get inside it. It's supposed to be a sealed bearing, but I've seen it where it leaks in. Okay. We're going to install the side case now, and let's put these screws in and see how well this performs. Okay, let's install our handle. Hold the rotor while you tighten it down good. Okay, looks really good. All right, we're going to go ahead. I don't know if I had done this previously in the video because it's been a few weeks ago, but we'll go ahead and take this screw out. Sit over here and let's pop this loose. Okay, this is a nice fit. Okay, it looks clean, as though I was in here, and I believe it maybe I was. Let's go ahead and give it a coat of oil. Let's put the roller back in and slip that piece in, and we're ready to put the screw back on. Okay, let's see how that performs. There we go. All right, let's take a look at the drag washers. Okay, it does not look like I've been in there. Maybe I have been, but if I have, we're going back in again. We're going to remove these 3 screws. Okay, yes, I have been in here. Well, still got a little dirt in it. So if I was in here, I didn't do a good enough job cleaning it out. Okay. Let's clean that up one last time. Good. There. Let's see here. Take this, get down in there a little bit. Yeah, there we go. Get that last of that dirt out of there. All right, with that done, these are all clean, so we're going to stick them back in. All right, first goes the drag washer. These are T100s, by the way. Then goes the keyed washer. It's keyed because it's got that flat-sided that fits on. Let me show you what that key fits. Okay, that key fits this shaft on the axle shaft like that, and it keeps it from rotating. Okay, this one, when it slides on there, it will rotate on there, but the pins on each side lock in over here. So when you tighten all this down is where you get your drag from. Okay, we also have a bearing under here. Let's go ahead and oil that bearing as well. Okay, so we've got a drag washer. We've got a metal drag washer. We're going to put in another T100. We're going to put in now the eared washer. It's got two little ears on it. Stick that in like so. Like that. Then there goes another T100. And then goes the final keyed washer. Now with those installed, we can come back and put this ring in. And this ring is what gives it all, holds it all in. In most spinning reels, wow. Okay, gotta find where the holes are. There we go. All right, those are done. Put the rotor back on, or spool back on, rotate it around until it drops into place. Now we're ready to wipe off this washer. Okay, and what I'm going to do, these normally people don't think to oil or grease them or anything else, but I can see that there's a little bit of corrosion going on in here. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and put some oil in there and put a little bit around the outside of this so that it can kind of soak in there a little bit and get up underneath there and help protect that. Okay, dab off the excess, put the button on, and let's see if we can get it to tighten down. I don't think this is all the way down yet. There we go. Okay, here we go. It's instant anti-reverse, so it stops wherever you're at instantly. All right, so it's got a new set of gears. I thought about putting new bearings in it, but that would have just bumped his price up on the repair a little bit too high. I think the bearings that are in there are going to do just fine. Those bearings aren't very cheap, and there's a lot of them in there. So I decided to grease and oil them to get as much life as we could out of them. But there you have the Penn Battle. This is first edition, and it's going to go back to my daughter's work, where she works. Somebody she works with brought this in, asked her to have me fix it, and there it is. He gets. Oh, wait a minute, we're still missing a part. Sorry. Got to put on our bump cap. Okay. Okay, and now that we know all of this works properly, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these screws out one at a time, and I'm going to replace the seals on them. It's hard to believe that little seal cost $1.30. You can't hardly even see them, let alone. Come on out of there, he is. Can you see that? That's the seal I'm talking about. And they wear out. They don't hold up very well. You put them in and out a few times and they're pretty well shot. So that's why I left them out until I got the rest of the reel up and going good, so I wouldn't have to take it back out and add more and more stress to these. So there's one. And there's the old one, and it's pretty well chewed. You can't even see it very well, but it's pretty well worn out. And I decided it was time to go ahead. If we were gonna go to this effort, let's go ahead and put in new seals to try to keep the water out, keep this from happening again. All right, so we put all new seals in along the screws. We've cleaned it. We put in new gears, oiled the bearings, installed a new handle, and there you have a Penn Battle 3000 First Edition, ready to go back out and fish again. So I hope you liked the video. If you did, please hit the like button. If you didn't like it, by all means, hit the dislike button and tell me what you didn't like, and we'll see what we can do to fix that. For now, that's Rick Stivers with Young Martin's Reels, signing off.